Ms. Hamburg, President and CEO, Taproot Foundation. Sorry that we invited you earlier and we had to ask you to return back.
Can you hear me? こんにちは。タプルートのリーズ・ハンバーグと申しますが、よろしくお願いします。エージェンプロボノラリーにお招きいただきありがとうございます。日本で勉強しまして、あとは富士山系とロイターズ東京に勤めて、日本に来ることができて嬉しく思います。プロボノが世界中に広めてきたことが素晴らしいです。今日はタプルートの企業とのコラボレーションのプログラムについてご紹介します。これからごめんなさいけど、英語でお話しします。
It's a pleasure to be back in Japan. I was a student here and worked here for Fujisankei and Reuters Japan. It is wonderful to see how pro bono is becoming so popular across the world, and we are And we are very happy to be here with you today to share more information about how we are working with our corporate partners at Taproot. And from here, I will have to change my language.
Thank you very much. And I believe is the presentation is in English on the screen, but for those of you who want to follow along, there's a Japanese translation in your packet. So first of all, I want to give a brief introduction about Taproot. And at Taproot, we believe that pro bono service is really critical for driving social change. And it's really so critical for socially driven organizations to get the resources that they need to deliver impactful programs and services. And even the most successful fundraising organizations that are working to tackle social programs don't always have access to the marketing, design, the technology, management, or strategic planning resources that they need to have an impact on critical issues like the environment, health, and education. Our mission is to drive social change by leading, mobilizing, and engaging professionals in pro bono service. And we're doing our work in three ways. We like to say that we're doing, we're enabling, and we're inspiring pro bono service. So we do pro bono by working directly with organizations, and we put teams together in what we call the service grant program, and you know service grant very well from our colleagues here in Japan, and we offer those service grants to nonprofits in our 5 cities, in New York, Chicago, San Francisco, DC, and Los Angeles. We enable pro bono by preparing and training both nonprofits and business professionals to be able to scope, secure, and manage pro bono on their own. And we're working alongside of many large US companies, and I think some of our partners are in the room today, to help them create their own pro bono programs with their employees as well. And finally, we inspire pro bono, and we're doing that alongside our good partner you saw here today, Marcus from BMW Foundation, and many others in the room. We have events like Pro Bono Week. So there were a week of activities last week, actually it just finished, with pro bono organizations around the country and around the world participating. We participate in a global pro bono summit as well as these local events. And we're very excited that this Asian Pro Bono Rally is our first event that represents pro bono in a region. And we are also doing quite a bit of work around thought leadership, so preparing case studies and thought leadership pieces that we're happy to share with you as well. So we started our work about 13 years ago, and now, as I mentioned, we have offices in 5 cities. I'm based in New York. My colleague Joel Bashevkin, who's with us today, as well, is based in San Francisco, and we also have offices in Chicago and DC and LA. We've worked with over 7,500 business professionals in the US alone, and we've done almost 3,000 projects. So we've done a lot of pro bono. Our volunteers have given over 1.5 million hours of pro bono, of their time to do pro bono. And that's an equivalent, if you count the dollar value, about $140 million of pro bono work. So we've worked with about 50 Fortune 500 companies in the US, and these are just some of our clients. And again, I think many of you are also in the room today. And we've been doing a lot of interesting work around building both specific programs for companies as well as participating in many of the events that you heard described today, with some done-in-a-day events and other specific programs that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. So it was really interesting to hear the previous speakers talk about the pro bono things happening and the volunteer activities happening in Japan. And we like to look at volunteerism, we call it a spectrum of volunteerism. And so I wanted to just share our definition of where pro bono fits into that spectrum. So if you think about what we call extra hands, hands-on volunteering, so the description that our colleague gave from Mitsubishi about the wonderful work that he and his team are doing to rebuild the tsunami area, that's what we would call, and the disaster relief work they're doing, that's what we would call hands-on volunteering. And the next bit along the spectrum we call general skills. And those are things like tutoring, teaching English or Japanese as a second language. And that is really using, you need to have skills to do that work, but it's not necessarily using your personal business skills. So pro bono service, the way that we think about it, is when a skilled professional, a skilled volunteer, is using their professional skills, the skills that they're getting paid to do or that they do every day in service of another organization. And while we believe that all of these volunteering, the spectrum of volunteering is very, very important and very beneficial both to the volunteers as well as to the organizations, in studies that we and others have done, we really have determined that the actual impact directly on the organization of doing pro bono is extremely high. So I wanted to just give you some statistics, and again, the translation is in your packet, but just to share with you that pro bono is good for business. So it's not just something that, that you should think of as nice to do or as an employee benefit. So top companies and all of you in the room, I hope, really recognize that strategic volunteer opportunities, programs drive social impact, and they're very, very cost-effective way to engage, to retain, and to develop your top talent. And just some quick statistics you'll see here, 66% of what we call Gen Y, so the young workers in the room, say that they would prefer to work at a company that provides opportunities to apply their skills to benefit nonprofit organizations. 70% of employees say that they feel better about working in their companies as a result of their pro bono volunteering experience. And 91%, so a really, really large number of human resource managers say that this is a way to really improve business and leadership skills. And I'm going to give you some specific examples in a minute. So we actually just came out with a new report this month, and it's available online. If you are interested, I'm happy to share it with you if you bring me your business card. But the report was about key trends to watch in corporate pro bono, and we did it thanks to our friends at PwC and in partnership with an organization in the US called CECP. And the trend showed, the report showed that there was a significant increase in the corporate pro bono work. And so between 2008 and 2013, the number of companies that reported having pro bono programs went from 32% to 50%. So a really, really huge increase in just a few years. And even more exciting is that there was a 350% increase in the number of companies offering both international as well as domestic pro bono programs. So we, as I mentioned, do a lot of work with companies, and there are 4 things that we have identified as some of the most important values and impact that can come out of doing pro bono in your organization. So a really effective pro bono program has maximum value for both business value as well as social impact. And a well-designed program is good for your company, not only good for your talent, but also good for nonprofits in your community. So I know I just have only 10 more minutes, so I'm going to skip ahead of some of this, and again, happy to share it with you later. But the 4 most important areas are that pro bono can increase your community impact, it can improve professional development, employee satisfaction, and recruitment. It can improve your reputation in the community, and it really helps you be innovative, again, not only during the pro bono project, but in your day-to-day business as well. So this is something we call the 8 models of pro bono. And when we start working with a company, we really go in and we talk about what impact they want to have. And we're able to create custom programs. But we have identified 8 ways to use pro bono in your companies. And again, I don't have time today to go into detail, but I'm happy to share more with you after the presentation if you want to take a look at these key 8 areas. So I wanted to give you a few very concrete examples of the pro bono work that's happening in the US. And one of the things that I'd mentioned before is talent development and leadership development. And we're seeing more and more of our corporate partners really focusing on this area, and CSR departments working with the HR departments together to make sure that the pro bono projects have a very strong impact on their leaders and talent that they're trying to engage. And so I'll give you just one example, and there are so many, but GlaxoSmithKline, which is a large company, I know it's here in Tokyo as well, they actually have what they call an emerging talent program, and they're doing great work in this area. So what they do is they select a group of what they call high-performing employees, and they actually put them into a very competitive multi-year professional development program. And as part of this program, they have an opportunity to engage in pro bono projects which really align with the development areas that they have decided to focus on. And there are things like leading strategic conversations, things like communicating effectively, and on and on and on. And so at Taproot, just one other example, we're working with MasterCard as well, and they have also a very strong leadership development program. In fact, their head, their chief of HR, global HR from all over the world, who's based in Westchester, outside of New York City, actually came to an event that we did for MasterCard, which was using what they call their star performers. And he got so excited by the project that we were doing, and he was so convinced by the pro bono as an effective leadership development tool that he actually just recently joined the Taproot board. So I was very happy to hear that many of you are already doing what we call done-in-a-day programs. And so one of the complaints that we've heard over the years as we've done the 6-month and our 6 to 9 month service grant projects is that they take too much time, and it's very difficult for people to commit to that much time. So we have increasingly done a lot of work with what we call done-in-a-day programs. And these are one-day events that you heard a great description, example of one before, that allows a company to execute a really impactful pro bono program with a minimal time commitment. And increasingly, we're seeing companies in the US use this as a first step with employees who are eager to build on that momentum and passion that a one-day event can actually generate. And it's actually amazing to see what can be accomplished in just 4 to 24 hours. So at Taproot, one of our most popular projects is something we call a scope-a-thon. So if you think about a marathon, but for pro bono. And this is a 4-hour session where nonprofits work with company employees or volunteers from the community to figure out what kind of problem the nonprofit is facing, and then give them information and advice so that they can actually then go out and get that pro bono on their own. And some of these are really, really difficult challenges. So we were working recently with Kraft Foods, and a nonprofit executive who was in the room said, we're in the process of merging, and we want to make sure that we're doing the best job we can to join our two cultures. Where do we begin? And that was just a huge question. They really could not have gone out and gotten pro bono on their own to solve that. They really needed to narrow the question down. And so someone from Kraft, who is a very talented HR professional, really help the nonprofit identify what their top need was and develop a communication plan, and then help the organization identify step by step what they could do to make that happen. And that all happened in a one-day session. Well, I feel like I'm in the Oscars and I'm being pulled off the stage because I'm told to finish up. So I'm going to skip over some of our other projects that we've been doing, but I'm happy again to talk about them afterwards. I just wanted to very briefly share our latest project, which we just introduced last week, called Taproot Plus. And that is an online tool where we're starting to offer both companies and individuals a way to find nonprofit matches directly online. So think of it as an online dating service for pro bono. So just as we finish up, I wanted to thank you all for your time today. It's so interesting to hear about the work that you're all doing here. In many ways, there's very little difference. It sounds like we've developed a lot of the same programs. We face a lot of the same challenges. And we at Taproot are really committed to working with our international partners. And we hope to be able to continue the dialogue, learn from each other, and share best practices as we move forward. So thank you very much.